Have you ever paused and truly considered the company you keep? Not just the people around you, but the ideas that quietly take root in your mind, the images and stories you let linger in the background of your consciousness, the endless stream of voices that shape your inner world without permission. Most of us move through life as if these things are irrelevant, as if attention is a neutral resource when in truth it is the most potent force we possess. You are becoming the sum of everything you allow into your awareness. Every glance you cast, every thought you entertain, every admiration or envy you nurture molds the person you are forming within. Imagine the quiet accumulation of days, of hours, of moments where you surrender your mind to the wrong. Influences, the trivial pursuits, the relentless comparison, the approval of others. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, your essence begins to mirror what you focus on. Until one day you awaken and see a life shaped not by your intention, but by the currents you drifted along. And yet, the power to redirect this force has always been within you. You can turn your gaze inward, toward the cultivation of character, toward the nurturing of your own potential, toward the unwavering practice of choosing yourself above fleeting distractions. This is the wisdom the Stoics offer, that our lives are not defined by what happens to us, but by how we respond, and by the deliberate attention we grant to what truly matters. To choose yourself is not an act of arrogance, it is an acknowledgement that your mind is sacred ground, and it deserves the care, discipline, and clarity required to grow into a life of virtue and purpose. Reflect now and ask yourself, whose voice am I echoing in my thoughts? Whose desires am I prioritizing over my own? And if the answer is not deliberate, if the life I am living is shaped by others, rather than by myself, then recognize that this is the moment to reclaim it, to redirect the currents of attention, and to become consciously the person you wish to embody. For in the stillness of your mind, in the quiet focus on what is worthy, the real transformation begins, not tomorrow, not when circumstances are perfect, but here, in this very instant, as you turn your focus toward yourself. Consider for a moment the invisible power that attention wields over your life. It is subtle, almost imperceptible, yet it shapes every action, every habit, every desire, and ultimately the very essence of who you are. What you allow yourself to focus on repeatedly becomes your reality, not in some distant abstract sense, but in the tangible formation of your character, your thoughts, your choices. If you fill your mind with complaints, with envy, with the constant noise of comparison, do not be surprised when your days feel fragmented, your purpose diluted, and your spirit restless. Yet, if you turn that same energy inward, if you train your awareness to discern what is worthy, to observe the nature of your own mind with patience and clarity, then a remarkable transformation begins. You begin to cultivate an inner citadel, a sanctuary, where virtue, wisdom, and resilience take root. Every deliberate choice, no matter how small, is a brick in this fortress. Every moment spent reflecting, every thought nurtured with discipline, every habit formed with intention, strengthens the structure of your being, and it is in this deliberate cultivation of attention that you discover the profound truth. You are not merely a passive observer in life. You are the sculptor of your own mind, the gardener of your own soul, and the architect of your destiny. But this requires vigilance, a refusal to let external chaos dictate the shape of your inner world. It requires the courage to step back from the constant pull of others' expectations, from the endless currents of distraction, and to place yourself, your growth, your clarity, your purpose, at the center of your own life. In doing so, you do not merely survive, you begin to embody the life that was always within your reach, waiting only for your conscious attention to awaken it. This is not easy, and it is not fast, but it is enduring. And as you practice this art of choosing yourself, moment by moment, thought by thought, you will notice a quiet power arising within, a power that is unshaken by circumstance, undistracted by opinion, and unbroken by adversity. This is the gift of focus, and it is the most profound gift you can give to yourself. There is a quiet danger in wandering through life without awareness of where your mind lingers. Most people believe that external events define their happiness or their failures, yet the Stoics have long reminded us that it is not circumstance that shapes our souls, but the choices we make in the attention we give. Every conversation, every piece of news, every story you consume becomes a thread woven into the fabric of your character. If these threads are tangled with distraction, fear, or the shallow approval of others, the tapestry of your life will appear fractured, restless, and hollow. But when you choose carefully what you allow into the sanctum of your mind, when you deliberately focus on that which nourishes wisdom, courage, and virtue, then the tapestry begins to take form with clarity, strength, and beauty. Understand this: you are never merely reacting, you are always becoming. The people you admire, the ideals you contemplate, the actions you emulate, all of them leave an indelible mark on who you are forming to be. Therefore, do not hand your mind over to the currents of distraction or the expectations of those who cannot see your path. Instead, place yourself at the helm of your consciousness. Observe your thoughts as a gardener observes seedlings. Nurture what will grow into resilience, clarity, and purpose, and gently remove what would choke your growth. This practice is neither fleeting nor easy. It is the slow, deliberate work of tending the inner life, of forging a mind that can withstand chaos, temptation, and the ever-shifting tides of circumstance. And as you do so, you will discover an inner freedom, a power that is quietly rooted and unshakable because it is born not of external success, not of validation, but of deliberate choice. In this way, to choose yourself is to choose life on your own terms, not through indulgence or pride, but through the disciplined cultivation of attention and the conscious shaping of your becoming. This is the path the Stoics walked, and this is the path that remains open to you today, here and now, if you dare to direct your focus with intention.
Think for a moment about the subtle power of influence, the invisible currents that shape our minds and ultimately define who we become. Every person we
spend time with, every story we consume, every habit we entertain, leaves a mark on the architecture of our consciousness. We often underestimate this, believing that our mind is ours alone, when in truth it is constantly molded by what we allow to dwell within it. Consider the life you are building in this very moment. Are the elements filling your attention aligned with the person you wish to become, or are they fragments borrowed from others' desires, fears, and expectations? The difference is profound. To choose yourself is to take deliberate responsibility for these currents, to recognize that the external world can never dictate your inner life unless you permit it. When you cultivate awareness of what you allow to enter your mind, you create the foundation for resilience, clarity, and wisdom. You begin to see that distraction, envy, and empty approval are not merely inconveniences, they are forces that erode the very essence of your becoming. And yet, by turning inward, by observing the patterns of your attention and making deliberate choices about what you nurture, you reclaim the one territory that no circumstance can touch, the landscape of your own consciousness. This is the power of self-mastery, not in controlling the world outside, but in shaping the life within. It is here, in this quiet vigilance, that true freedom emerges. You no longer drift along with the tide of opinion or circumstance, but stand firmly as the architect of your mind, the gardener of your soul, the sculptor of your own becoming. Every choice you make, every thought you entertain, is a step toward the person you wish to embody, or a concession to the forces that would see you fragmented and lost. Choose carefully, for in these choices lies the destiny of your character, the contours of your life, and the quiet strength that will sustain you when all else falters. To focus on yourself is not selfish, it is necessary. It is the only way to live a life of depth, purpose, and unshakable virtue. There is a quiet, often overlooked truth in life. The person you are becoming is not formed by chance, by random circumstance, or by the fleeting opinions of others. It is shaped, moment by moment, by the deliberate focus of your mind. Every hour you spend consumed by worry, by envy, by the trivial demands of others, is an hour in which you allow your character to drift, to take on qualities that are not truly yours. But when you pause, when you turn your attention inward with purpose, you begin to notice the subtle ways in which your focus builds your identity. The mind is like clay, pliable and responsive. What you press into it, the habits you reinforce, the ideas you dwell upon, the examples you follow, these are the shapes that will endure. Recognize the immense responsibility in this. To choose your attention wisely is to choose your life consciously. Do not let the noise of the world dictate the rhythm of your thoughts. Do not surrender to the pull of superficial desires or fleeting praise. Instead, look deeply at what you value, at what nourishes your character, at what strengthens your inner fortress. To focus on yourself is to reclaim the one thing that can never be taken from you, your mind, your principles, your integrity. And in this reclamation, a profound freedom arises. You begin to move through the world no longer as a reactive shadow of circumstance, but as a deliberate presence, steady and unwavering, shaped by conscious choice rather than accident. Each decision to turn inward, to strengthen your virtues, to cultivate wisdom and courage, is a quiet revolution in your life, and slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, you will notice that the person emerging before your own eyes is not the one shaped by the chaos around you, but by the clarity, discipline, and intentionality you have chosen. This is the path of the Stoic. It is neither easy nor flashy. It is quiet, steady, and immensely powerful, because it is rooted in the one source that shapes everything: your attention. Choose it, guard it, direct it. For in this deliberate focus, your true life unfolds. Life has a quiet way of testing where your focus truly lies. The world will offer countless opportunities to look outward, to seek approval, to chase what is transient, to let your thoughts drift toward the chaos and distraction that surround you. And yet, the person you are becoming does not emerge from this noise. It emerges in the stillness, in the conscious choice to direct your mind toward what is worthy, toward what is lasting, toward what shapes you into someone of strength and purpose. Consider this: every fleeting admiration you grant to the lives of others, every thought you allow to dwell on envy or resentment, every habit of distraction, these are not harmless. They are quietly forming the blueprint of your character. But when you turn your attention, deliberately, with calm observation and steadfast intent, you reclaim the power that was always yours. You begin to notice that true growth is not found in following the crowd, nor in seeking constant validation, but in the careful cultivation of your inner life. Your thoughts become your tools, your focus becomes your guide, and your attention becomes the architect of the life you wish to embody. This is the essence of choosing yourself, understanding that the seeds you plant in your mind today will determine the forest you walk through tomorrow. It is neither a sudden revelation nor an external conquest. It is a slow, deliberate, and continuous practice, a commitment to tend to your inner world. There is a subtle danger in allowing life to shape you unconsciously. Most people drift, carried by habits, by the opinions of others, and by the unexamined pull of their surroundings. They believe they are choosing when in truth their focus has been silently claimed by distraction, desire, or fear. But you have the ability to stand apart from this drift. You can observe the currents pulling at your attention, recognize which of them serve your growth and which erode it, and deliberately redirect yourself toward what truly matters. Every moment spent in this conscious awareness is a moment in which you claim the life that belongs to you, not a life dictated by circumstance, but a life cultivated through clarity, discipline, and intention. Understand this: the mind is a garden, and what you water grows. If you water complaints, fears, and the trivial dramas of the world, you will find your inner life overrun by chaos and weakness. But if you water wisdom, resilience, and virtue, your character strengthens, your clarity deepens, and your capacity to endure expands. The person you become is not an accident of time or chance. They are the reflection of where you place your attention, of the ideals you hold before you, and of the care with which you nurture your inner world. Choosing yourself does not mean neglecting the world or avoiding responsibilities. It means cultivating the strength within that allows you to meet the world fully without being defined by it. When you embrace this practice, you begin to see life differently. Each distraction becomes a choice. Each moment of attention becomes an opportunity, and each day becomes a deliberate step toward the person you wish to embody. This is the quiet power of the Stoic way, to recognize that the forces outside you are fleeting, but the life within your control is enduring. And when you focus with intention, when you nurture your mind with care, you begin to rise above the chaos, slowly and steadily, becoming the person who does not merely react to life, but consciously shapes it with clarity, purpose, and quiet strength. Have you ever noticed how easily the mind is pulled in 1,000 directions at once? Every notification, every opinion, every fleeting desire is vying for your attention, and yet the quality of your life depends entirely on what you allow to settle within your consciousness. The Stoics teach us that it is not the events themselves that disturb the soul, but our judgment of them, and by extension, where we choose to place our focus. Imagine your mind as a vessel. If you fill it with trivial worries, shallow comparisons, and the endless chatter of others, the vessel overflows with confusion, frustration, and restlessness. But if you fill it with principles, with reflection, with careful attention to your own growth, the vessel becomes steady, resilient, and capable of holding what is truly valuable. Every day, every thought, every action becomes a brushstroke in the portrait of the person you are becoming. And this is why choosing yourself, choosing to focus on what matters, to nurture your virtues, to cultivate clarity, is the most powerful act you can commit to. It is not a grand gesture, but a quiet, consistent discipline, the accumulation of small, deliberate decisions that over time define the character of your life. You are never outside of this influence. You are always becoming something, whether by conscious choice or by passive surrender. So let your attention be deliberate. Let it gravitate toward growth rather than distraction, toward wisdom rather than superficiality, toward courage rather than fear. In doing so, you do more than resist the pull of the world. You create an inner citadel that remains unshaken by circumstance, unbroken by chaos, and untouched by fleeting opinion. This is the true freedom the Stoics describe, the freedom that comes not from changing the world outside, but from mastering the world within. And as you continue this practice, as you focus deliberately on yourself, you will notice a profound transformation, a mind that is calm, a spirit that is steady, and a life that unfolds with clarity, purpose, and quiet strength. Take a moment and consider the invisible forces that shape your inner life, the voices you listen to, the ideals you admire, the images you allow to occupy your mind. These are not insignificant. They are the scaffolding upon which your character is built. Every thought you entertain, every habit you cultivate, every example you follow leaves a mark on the person you are becoming. Many drift through life unaware of this process, believing that their identity is fixed or that it will emerge naturally, but the Stoics remind us that we are, at all times, sculptors of our own souls. You are not a passive witness to life. You are actively becoming something, even when you are distracted, even when you are unaware. And this is the quiet urgency of choosing yourself, to recognize that your focus, moment by moment, is shaping the contours of your character. If you allow yourself to dwell in envy, resentment, or the fleeting praise of others, your mind is quietly reshaped into weakness and restlessness. But if you turn your attention toward what is virtuous, toward what strengthens your reason, courage, and self-discipline, then the transformation begins, subtle but undeniable. To choose yourself is to claim this power, to step away from the currents of distraction and to place your own growth at the center of your life. It is not selfishness, it is the only way to live a life of clarity, resilience, and integrity. Every deliberate thought becomes a stone laid in the foundation of your character. Every moment spent in reflection, in learning, in cultivating strength, is a brushstroke in the portrait of who you are becoming. And gradually, imperceptibly at first, you will notice a change, a steadiness in your mind, a clarity in your judgment, a quiet power in your presence. This is the life of one who chooses themselves, one who understands that destiny is not given, it is shaped, sculpted, and built with each conscious act of attention. The path is neither quick nor easy, but it is enduring, and it leads to a freedom that cannot be taken by circumstance, opinion, or misfortune. Pause for a moment and reflect on the subtle yet undeniable truth. The person you are becoming is not an abstract idea or a distant possibility. They are being forged quietly, imperceptibly, in the choices you make each day, in the direction you give to your attention, in the inner dialogue you permit to take root. Every hour spent drifting in distraction, in envy, in the pull of fleeting desires, shapes you into someone you may not recognize. And yet, the power to redirect this process has always been yours. Choosing yourself is not a sudden event, it is a practice, a steady and deliberate turning of your mind toward what is meaningful, toward what is virtuous, toward what nourishes the soul rather than depletes it. Consider the voices you listen to, the media you consume, the examples you admire. Are they guiding you toward strength, clarity, and wisdom, or are they filling your inner world with noise, confusion, and restlessness? The difference is profound. Your attention is the most valuable resource you possess, and it is the one thing no one else can give you, nor take from you, unless you permit it. Each deliberate choice to focus on yourself, to cultivate virtue, to refine your character, is a seed planted that will grow into the life you wish to embody. And in this process, something remarkable occurs. A calm, quiet power emerges, rooted in awareness, intention, and self-mastery. You begin to move through life no longer as a reactive being, tossed by circumstance or swayed by opinion, but as someone anchored in purpose, in clarity, and in the deliberate shaping of their own becoming. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom, that the external world is fleeting, but the cultivation of your inner life is enduring. And as you practice this choice, day by day, thought by thought, moment by moment, you will notice the emergence of a self that is steady, resilient, and unshakable, a self that exists not by accident but by conscious, deliberate attention to the person you are becoming. There is a profound simplicity in realizing that who you become is entirely a reflection of where you place your attention. The mind, left unchecked, drifts into endless desires, fears, and distractions, slowly eroding the clarity and strength that are your birthright. Yet the same mind, when guided with purpose, becomes a powerful instrument for transformation. Every thought you entertain, every habit you cultivate, every ideal you choose to embrace or reject silently shapes the architecture of your character. And this is where the practice of choosing yourself begins, in the deliberate observation of your own mind, in the careful selection of what you allow to take root, and in the conscious decision to nurture what will serve your growth. You are not helpless in the face of circumstance. You are not a passive participant in life. You are the architect of your own becoming, and this requires vigilance, patience, and courage. It is easy to be swept away by the noise of the world, by the expectations of others, by the fleeting temptations that offer momentary comfort but long-term emptiness. But to focus deliberately on yourself, to cultivate virtue, wisdom, and resilience, is to reclaim the power that has always been yours. Understand that this is not a one-time act or a fleeting insight. It is a lifetime practice. Each day, each choice, each thought becomes a brick in the foundation of the person you will one day fully embody. And as you persist in this practice, you will notice subtle yet profound changes. Your mind will grow steadier, your judgment clearer, and your presence more intentional. Life does not happen to those who cultivate this focus. It unfolds through them. And in that unfolding, you begin to experience the quiet strength, the calm power, and the unshakable clarity that arise when one truly chooses themselves, moment by moment, thought by thought, and day by day. There is a quiet strength in understanding that the world outside is fleeting, uncontrollable, and often indifferent. Yet within you lies a sanctuary that no circumstance can touch, a mind capable of reason, reflection, and deliberate focus. It is here, in this inner citadel, that your true power resides. Every distraction, every idle comparison, every pursuit of superficial approval slowly erodes this sanctuary, shaping a life not by your choice, but by the forces that surround you. But when you choose to turn inward, to examine your thoughts, to discern what is worthy of your attention, you reclaim control over your own becoming. The person you are emerging into is not a product of chance, but of these very choices, these deliberate acts of attention. Understand that focus is a muscle. The more you exercise it in the direction of growth, virtue, and clarity, the stronger it becomes. And the world will continue to demand your attention, to pull you in countless directions, but the power lies not in the absence of challenge, but in the mastery of your own mind amidst it. When you dedicate yourself to choosing yourself, you are not withdrawing from life, you are preparing to engage with it fully, without distraction, without restlessness, and with the calm strength of someone who understands the impermanence of external events. This is the essence of Stoic practice, to recognize what is within your control, and to cultivate it with diligence, patience, and courage. Over time, the person you are shaping becomes resilient, unshakable, and clear, no longer a passive recipient of circumstance, but an active participant in the art of living. Each moment you dedicate to self-mastery, each thought you refine, and each distraction you set aside becomes a step toward the life you are meant to embody. A life defined not by chaos or opinion, but by intention, virtue, and the quiet power of focused presence. Have you ever noticed how easily we let the currents of the world dictate the shape of our minds? A single word, a passing opinion, an image on a screen. These small things, seemingly insignificant, quietly accumulate and influence the very essence of who we become. Yet within you lies the power to choose differently. To focus on yourself is not an act of selfishness, it is an act of preservation, of creation, and of mastery. Every moment you spend examining your thoughts, every decision you make to nurture what is meaningful, and every action guided by reason is a conscious step toward the person you are destined to embody. The Stoics remind us that we cannot control the world around us, but we can always control the lens through which we perceive it, the direction of our attention, the clarity of our judgment, and the cultivation of our inner life. When you dedicate yourself to this practice, you begin to notice the subtle transformations within. Your mind grows steadier, your impulses become tempered, and your choices align more consistently with your values. Each day, each thought, and each deliberate focus acts as a sculptor's hand, shaping your character with patience and precision. Life will continue to challenge you, with distractions, desires, and the expectations of others, but your inner citadel, built upon conscious attention and self-mastery, remains unshaken. And in this space, you discover a freedom that the external world cannot offer, the freedom to act with clarity, to respond with virtue, and to cultivate a life that reflects your true self rather than the whims of circumstance. Choosing yourself is a quiet, continuous revolution, a commitment to let your inner life determine the shape of your outer life. And as you practice this, moment by moment, thought by thought, you will find that the person you are becoming is strong, clear, resilient, and fully alive, not because the world has granted it, but because you have deliberately chosen it. There is a profound lesson in understanding that the life you live is a mirror of where you place your attention. The world is full of noise, endless opinions, and fleeting distractions, all competing for your focus, all quietly shaping who you are becoming. Many drift through this current unaware, believing that identity is fixed, that character is predetermined, or that circumstance will decide their path. But the truth is far simpler and far more empowering. The mind is the forge, and attention is the hammer shaping the steel of your character. Every thought you dwell upon, every habit you nurture, every influence you allow into your inner world leaves an imprint that will echo through your actions, your choices, and the way you respond to life itself. To choose yourself is to take deliberate command of this process. It is to recognize that nothing outside you has the power to define your essence unless you permit it. Each moment of clarity, each conscious choice to prioritize growth over distraction, virtue over indulgence, reflection over reaction, is a brick in the foundation of the person you are destined to become. The Stoics teach us that it is not the world that shapes us, but the judgment we place upon it, and by extension the focus we cultivate. And so, when you practice this discipline of self-directed attention, something remarkable occurs. A quiet strength emerges, steady and enduring, independent of circumstance, impervious to opinion, and unshaken by the chaos of life. The more consistently you choose yourself, the more your inner life solidifies, and the more you discover that freedom is not found in controlling the world, but in mastering the direction of your own mind. In this mastery lies clarity, resilience, and the profound satisfaction of becoming someone fully realized, someone whose life is shaped not by accident, but by the deliberate, thoughtful, and continuous cultivation of focus, attention, and virtue. Reflect for a moment on the subtle ways in which life molds the mind when left unattended. Each passing day, each distraction, each fleeting desire quietly chisels away at clarity, patience, and purpose. Most people fail to notice this gradual shaping, believing that who they are is fixed or that life simply happens to them. But the Stoics remind us that we are always becoming something, whether by conscious choice or by passive surrender to circumstance. To choose yourself is to step deliberately into the role of sculptor and gardener of your own life, observing the influences that seek to sway you, and redirecting your attention toward what nurtures strength, wisdom, and virtue. Every thought you nurture, every habit you cultivate, every focus you maintain is a seed planted in the fertile soil of your mind, growing slowly into the person you will inevitably become. This practice requires patience, vigilance, and courage, for the world will constantly pull your attention outward toward noise, distraction, and the fleeting approval of others. Yet, when you direct your awareness inward, when you invest in the deliberate cultivation of your character, a quiet power begins to emerge, steady, resilient, and deeply rooted. You will notice a shift. Your impulses become tempered, your judgment becomes clearer, and your actions more aligned with the life you wish to embody. Freedom is found not in controlling the chaos around you, but in mastering the currents of your own mind. Each moment spent choosing yourself over distraction, virtue over indulgence, reflection over reaction, is a moment in which you are shaping your destiny. And as this practice continues, moment by moment, day by day, the person you are becoming reveals themselves, not through external recognition, but through the quiet strength, clarity, and purpose that define your inner life. Consider for a moment the extraordinary power of deliberate focus. Few realize how profoundly the mind responds to where attention is given. Every day, countless influences compete for your consciousness, the endless opinions of others, the distractions of modern life, the fleeting temptations that promise comfort but offer nothing lasting. If left unchecked, these forces quietly shape your character, molding you into someone whose life is dictated not by choice but by circumstance. Yet within you lies the capacity to reclaim this power, to turn your awareness inward and to become the architect of your own becoming. To choose yourself is to recognize that every thought you entertain, every habit you cultivate, and every influence you allow into your mind contributes to the life you are building. The person you will become is being forged right now, in the quiet moments when you are present with your own mind, when you reflect on your values, and when you direct your attention toward growth, virtue, and resilience. This is not a fleeting effort. It is a lifetime practice, a continuous and deliberate shaping of your inner life. Each time you resist the pull of distraction, each time you prioritize clarity over noise, courage over fear, and wisdom over impulsivity, you strengthen the foundation of your character. And over time, these deliberate choices accumulate, gradually transforming the way you think, act, and perceive the world. The Stoics remind us that it is not external events that determine our happiness, strength, or freedom, but our response to them, and more importantly, the discipline with which we govern our own minds. By choosing yourself, by safeguarding your attention and nurturing the qualities that matter, you are building a life of enduring strength, clarity, and purpose. And as this practice deepens, you will notice a profound shift. The chaos outside loses its power over you, the opinions of others become irrelevant, and the inner life you have cultivated begins to radiate outward, shaping your actions, your decisions, and ultimately the very destiny you are creating. This is the quiet, transformative power of focus, and it is yours to wield deliberately, moment by moment, thought by thought, and day by day. There is a hidden truth in life that few take the time to see. The person you are becoming is not shaped by grand events or dramatic moments, but by the quiet, persistent direction of your attention. Each day, each hour, each fleeting thought is a brushstroke on the canvas of your character, painting the life that will inevitably emerge. Most people drift, allowing their minds to be filled with trivial distractions, idle comparisons, and the endless chatter of others. They believe that life is happening to them, that their character is a product of circumstance, and that identity is something fixed rather than cultivated. But the Stoics remind us that the mind is not passive. It is a forge, a garden, a workshop where every choice, every focus, and every deliberate act shapes the essence of who we are becoming. To choose yourself is to step into this process consciously. It is to examine the influences you allow to enter your mind, to nurture those that strengthen courage, wisdom, and virtue, and to remove those that erode clarity, patience, and resilience. This practice is neither fast nor easy. The world will continually seek to distract you, to pull you toward envy, fear, and fleeting indulgence. Yet in those moments, the quiet act of returning, your focus to what matters most becomes a form of mastery, a subtle but profound exercise of freedom. Each time you choose reflection over reaction, reason over impulse, virtue over convenience, you are reshaping not only your mind but your destiny. And over time, this deliberate cultivation reveals itself in the way you carry yourself, in the clarity of your judgment, and in the calm strength with which you navigate the world. Choosing yourself is not about selfishness or isolation. It is about consciously becoming someone who can meet life fully, with integrity, purpose, and unwavering attention to what is truly meaningful. It is in this persistent, mindful shaping of your inner world that true freedom, resilience, and the power to live a life aligned with your highest values are found. Take a moment and reflect on the subtle, yet profound truth that who you are becoming is not determined by the opinions of others, the circumstances of life, or the fleeting events that surround you. It is determined by the quiet, consistent choices you make about where to place your attention, how to shape your thoughts, and which influences you allow to dwell in your mind. Every distraction avoided, every deliberate act of reflection, every moment spent nurturing virtue and wisdom slowly but surely molds the person you are becoming. Most people live unaware of this process. They allow external chaos, superficial desires, and the endless judgments of others to shape their inner lives, only to awaken later, wondering why their character, their purpose, and their strength feel diluted or uncertain. But when you choose yourself consciously, when you commit to governing your mind with care, patience, and clarity, you reclaim the power that has always been yours. The Stoics teach that the external world is beyond our control, but the inner world, the mind, the thoughts, the focus, is entirely ours to master. This mastery is neither sudden nor easy. It is built moment by moment, thought by thought, decision by decision. And yet it is in this persistent, patient practice that freedom emerges, freedom from distraction, freedom from fear, freedom from the relentless sway of opinion and circumstance. Each time you turn your focus inward, each time you nurture reason over impulse, courage over avoidance, virtue over indulgence, you are forging a mind and character capable of withstanding the turbulence of life. Over time, these deliberate choices accumulate into a quiet, enduring power, a clarity and resilience that radiates into your actions, your decisions, and the life you are building. To choose yourself is not a fleeting effort, it is a lifelong commitment, the most profound form of self-respect, and the foundation for a life lived with integrity, purpose, and deep, unshakable strength. Reflect for a moment on the quiet power that lies within the act of choosing yourself. It is easy to assume that life is defined by the events that happen to us, the people we encounter, or the circumstances we cannot control. Yet the Stoics remind us that the measure of a person's life is not found in what happens outside, but in how one governs the inner world. Every thought you entertain, every habit you cultivate, every focus you sustain quietly shapes your character and determines who you are becoming. Consider the countless small decisions that fill each day, the choice to indulge in idle distraction or to nurture reflection, the choice to succumb to fear and comparison or to cultivate courage and clarity, the choice to let the opinions of others dictate your worth or to anchor yourself in your own principles. These decisions, seemingly minor in the moment, accumulate and define the life you will ultimately live. To choose yourself is to recognize the sacred responsibility inherent in each of these moments, to guard your attention as you would a treasured possession, and to cultivate the qualities that will carry you through the trials and uncertainties of life with steadiness and grace. This is not a fleeting effort or a superficial exercise. It is the patient, deliberate shaping of your inner life, a lifelong practice that grows stronger with every conscious choice. And as you engage in this practice, a remarkable transformation emerges. Your mind grows quieter, your judgment becomes sharper, your presence steadier, and your life more aligned with the principles you hold most dear. You begin to see that freedom is not found in controlling the chaos outside, but in mastering the currents within. And in this mastery, you discover the enduring strength, clarity, and resilience that allow you to live a life defined not by circumstance, distraction, or the expectations of others, but by conscious, deliberate, and purposeful attention to the person you are becoming. Pause and consider the extraordinary responsibility that comes with the mind you inhabit. Few realize that it is not external events, the praise or criticism of others, or the shifting circumstances of life that truly define the person you are becoming. It is the deliberate cultivation of your thoughts, the careful attention you give to what you nurture within, and the choices you make every day about where to direct your focus. The mind, like a fertile garden, will grow what it is fed. If it is filled with distraction, envy, superficial desires, and the incessant noise of others, it will yield confusion, restlessness, and weakness. But if it is tended with purpose, reflection, and virtue, it will bear clarity, resilience, and strength. Choosing yourself is the recognition of this truth, the understanding that each thought, each habit, and each moment of attention is a seed planted that will ultimately determine the life you lead. This practice is not instantaneous, nor is it easy. The world will constantly attempt to pull you away from deliberate focus, offering temptations, opinions, and distractions at every turn. Yet, in the steadfast cultivation of your inner life, you find freedom. Freedom from the chaos outside, freedom from the fear and doubt within, and freedom from the unrelenting sway of fleeting desires. Each conscious act of attention, each decision to prioritize reflection, virtue, and self-mastery over convenience, distraction, and indulgence, strengthens the foundation of your character and builds a life aligned with your deepest values. And as these moments accumulate day by day, thought by thought, you begin to witness the emergence of a self that is steady, clear, and unshakable. A self whose life is not dictated by circumstance, but shaped by conscious, deliberate, and persistent choice. This is the power of choosing yourself, the quiet, transformative, enduring power that forms the essence of a life well lived. Take a moment to truly grasp the weight and the wonder of this idea. The person you are becoming is shaped less by the events of the external world, and far more by the steady, deliberate cultivation of your inner life. Every thought you entertain, every habit you nurture, every influence you allow into your mind, acts as a sculptor, carving the contours of your character. Life will constantly present you with distractions, opinions, and fleeting temptations that seek to divert your attention and dilute your focus. These are not merely inconveniences, they are forces that quietly, steadily shape the person you will become if you allow them. But within you lies the power to resist these currents, to step deliberately into the practice of choosing yourself. Choosing yourself is not an act of selfishness. It is the recognition that your mind is the foundation of everything you will ever become. Each moment spent reflecting, each thought cultivated with care, each habit aligned with virtue, strengthens the scaffolding of your character and expands the space in which freedom, clarity, and resilience can flourish. The Stoics remind us that external events are beyond our control, but our attention, our judgment, and the inner life we cultivate are entirely within our power. And when you dedicate yourself to mastering this inner domain, something remarkable occurs. A quiet power rises within you, steady and enduring, immune to the turbulence of circumstance, to the fleeting praise or criticism of others, and to the ephemeral chaos of the world. This is the freedom of self-mastery, the clarity of deliberate attention, and the strength of character born from consistent mindful practice. Over time, these choices, seemingly small and subtle at first, accumulate into a life of purpose, integrity, and unshakable resilience. You begin to move through the world not as a reactive being tossed about by opinion and circumstance, but as someone anchored, deliberate, and fully aware of the person they are becoming. And in this awareness, this persistent cultivation of focus and virtue, you discover the extraordinary truth. The life you are living and the person you are becoming are one and the same, forged by your deliberate attention, sustained by your reflection, and guided by your conscious choice to place yourself always at the center of your own becoming. Consider for a moment the remarkable truth that your life is not a random unfolding of events, but the gradual accumulation of where you place your focus, the choices you make, and the thoughts you nurture. Every day the mind is pulled in countless directions. Distractions, opinions, desires, and fears all seek to claim your attention and quietly shape the person you are becoming. Most people drift through life unaware, letting the currents of circumstance, habit, and the expectations of others dictate their inner world. But you have the capacity to step deliberately into a different path. Choosing yourself is not a one-time act or a fleeting decision. It is the continuous practice of observing your mind, discerning what is worthy of your attention, and nurturing what strengthens your clarity, resilience, and virtue. Each thought you focus on, each habit you cultivate, each moment you dedicate to reflection rather than reaction, is a seed planted in the fertile soil of your character. Over time, these seeds grow into the qualities that define the life you will inevitably lead. The Stoics teach us that external events are beyond our control, but the cultivation of the mind, the deliberate shaping of attention, judgment, and purpose, is entirely within our power. By choosing yourself, you build an inner citadel, a sanctuary of clarity, strength, and reason, capable of withstanding the chaos, temptations, and unpredictability of life. And in this practice, something extraordinary occurs. A quiet, enduring power arises, rooted in discipline, intention, and the persistent cultivation of virtue. Your impulses are tempered, your judgment sharpened, your decisions aligned with the person you wish to embody. Life is no longer a series of reactions, but a deliberate unfolding of your values, intentions, and conscious focus. Each moment you choose yourself, you are not merely surviving the world. You are actively shaping the destiny of the person you are becoming, step by deliberate step, thought by reflective thought, day by day. Take a moment to truly understand the gravity of your attention. The person you are becoming is not shaped by what happens to you externally, but by where you place your focus, how you direct your thoughts, and the habits you cultivate over time. Life constantly tempts you with distraction, fleeting pleasures, the opinions of others, and the endless noise of the world, all seeking to pull your mind outward and fragment your attention. Many drift, unaware that this quiet surrender to circumstance is silently molding their character, shaping them into someone far removed from the person they wish to embody. But within you lies the extraordinary power to choose differently. Choosing yourself is an act of conscious, deliberate mastery, an understanding that every thought entertained, every influence allowed, and every habit nurtured leaves an indelible mark on who you are becoming. This is not a fleeting effort or a one-time decision. It is a lifetime practice, a continuous shaping of your inner life through reflection, discipline, and attention to what truly matters. Every moment spent cultivating clarity over confusion, virtue over indulgence, courage over fear, and reason over impulse strengthens the foundation of your character. And as this practice deepens, a quiet, steady power emerges, a resilience that no circumstance can shake, a clarity that no chaos can cloud, and a freedom that no external event can take away. Life will continue to present challenges, distractions, and temptations, but the person you are becoming, forged through deliberate attention and conscious choice, moves through these trials with unwavering purpose. The Stoics remind us that external events are beyond our control, but the cultivation of the mind is entirely within it. By choosing yourself, moment by moment, thought by thought, day by day, you are not mere. Now, take a deep breath and consider the life you are quietly building with every thought, every choice, and every deliberate act of focus. The person you are becoming is not an abstract ideal, nor a distant possibility. It is being forged in this very moment, in the way you direct your attention, the way you nurture your mind, and the way you choose yourself above distraction, fear, and the fleeting approval of others. Life will continue to offer chaos, temptation, and endless demands on your energy, but the inner citadel you cultivate through conscious choice will remain unshaken. The Stoics teach us that external events are beyond our control, yet the cultivation of your mind, the careful shaping of your thoughts, and the deliberate focus on virtue, wisdom, and clarity are entirely within your power. And in this practice a profound freedom emerges, a freedom not granted by circumstance, not borrowed from others, but created by the deliberate mastery of your own life. Each moment you choose reflection over reaction, discipline over indulgence, courage over fear, and self-awareness over distraction. You are forging the person you were always meant to become. The accumulation of these choices creates a life of steady strength, quiet, clarity, and enduring purpose. And when you look back, you will see that the true journey was never about the world around you. It was about the world within. By choosing yourself, moment by moment, thought by thought, day by day, you have become the architect of your own destiny. You have built a life aligned with your values, guided by reason and grounded in resilience. This is the ultimate power, the deepest freedom, and the most enduring fulfillment, the unwavering, deliberate, and conscious cultivation of the self. And now, as you step forward into each new moment, remember this: you are not merely living, you are becoming, and the life you create is entirely yours.